Hey friends. Well, you can see I'm still in front of a beautiful backdrop. I'm still in Santa Fe, probably traveling back home to Albuquerque tomorrow. We'll see. And I am right on the cusp of leaving town. I'm going to Houston on Saturday. I can't even believe that that's what's happening. It's so surreal to me that the time has come for this trip. And it's incredibly exciting. All this work that I've been talking about over the past several weeks, if you've been following the post, you've heard me talk about the arrangements and all the kind of intensity of the work around the piece itself. All of that is finally going to culminate in a rehearsal process where we actually craft that thing that we've been writing and envisioning for years, and then that will culminate in the show actually opening and being presented to an audience and people being part of it. Crazy exciting. Super just awesome. And it's also 2 months that I'm not going to see it's not that I'm not going to see Katie and Annalise, but it's 2 months that I won't be home. I may be able to take a quick, couple days at home somewhere in the middle of all that. But basically, I'm going to be in Houston for 2 months. And I already know that Katie and Annalise are coming out about 2 weeks in. But I'm just a little heartbroken. I did not expect to feel like this, because I've taken trips before, and there's always something sort of mildly liberating and rewarding about them, about going somewhere for work and being separated from my family. It's not pleasant to be separated from my family. It never has been. But there is a kind of, it's like I all of a sudden I'm living a life where every single hour of my day I can simply devote to the creative project that I'm working on. Or in this case, in Houston, there'll probably be more than one. It'll probably be the show that we're doing, and then my own teaching work and my own other work. So there's a kind of freedom in it. It's like going back, in some ways, it's like going back to before I had kids, before I had a kid, in that I sometimes, it's amazing what happens when you have kids, because all of a sudden there's such my relationship to time changed completely. My relationship to my schedule and how I live, what the hours in the day mean and how I organize them changed completely. And I will tell you that since having children, I've gotten so much more done, infinitely more accomplished in infinitely less time than before. And there's something really empowering about that, because it's so you just get really real about what's manageable, what you can do. I had a friend tell me once, it's unlikely that as you go into having kids that you're going to simply do a little bit less of all the same things you're doing now. It's much more likely that you'll have that the baby will be born, and you'll adjust within the first 3 to 6 months, and you'll cut about 60% of those things out of your life, and then you'll do that 40%, that remaining little bit less than half of what you were doing before, with real focus and real intention, and you'll actually really make progress on that. And he was dead right. I mean, I've managed to keep a good number of balls in the air, but all fluff went away. Anything not central went away. And I think there's a sense in which this past year and a half, and there's even a sense in which I would say I'm clocking this kind of as I speak about it, but after Annalise was born, it was like I gradually, through a process, but relatively swiftly, got really clear on what matters and what doesn't. And even my sort of declaration to myself that I was going to put spiritual practice and deep inner work at the center of my life, that's something that I'd known for years. It's something that I had been really clear on forever. I mean, as long as I can remember. And I'd even had phases of my life where I had kind of done that. I felt like that was kind of my central focus. But then I drifted off and did other, it was like it didn't remain at the center in the way that it has now, more recently in the last, 18 months maybe. And I attribute that seriousness partly to having kids. Could be partly that I'm getting older, but it's partly that having a child in your life limits the time and ups the stakes. Makes everything you do more important, more significant, and it takes away about half or more of the time that you have to devote to it. So those moments that you devote to it get really precious. And so, I'm looking at this. I have this interesting. It's like warring impulses within me, because on the one hand, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so great to be in Houston and to just have whole days. Right now, even doing that arranging work, it felt so. Part of the urgency of it, part of the intensity of it, was because I had to fit it into a schedule that was a pretty full family schedule. Now, there were a couple of days when, like, there was a day when I was like, Katie, you take Annalise to Santa Fe. I'm just going to sit at the computer all day. And I sat there for 11 hours straight. I probably had at least one other day when I spent all day at it. But otherwise, I was getting some nice long days in, but I wasn't putting in, long, crazy hours like that. And so there's a part of me that when I think about going to Houston, I think about the time that I'm going to have. It's like, oh, I'm just going to have the freedom to give whatever it needs to be given to this. And yet, there's a part of me that is thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I leaving my family for 2 months? And it feels insane. It feels insane because a little girl who's 3 years and 3 months old is growing so fast. She's changing so fast. She's learning so much. And the idea that I will not see her every day, not be there at every step of the way, is just really sad to me. So I'm taking that in, and I'm letting it I'm letting myself feel it. You know, there's a way in which, again, the a project and a step in life, a decision for what to put my energy towards, it just comes into real relief, bold relief, when I start to think about not being around for 2 months of my daughter growing up. And it just eliminates the bullshit, On some level, it also provokes a sense of, because art and creative work, creative expression, to me, as I've lived my life and as I see the world, it's one of the most beautiful things we can spend our time doing. It's one of the most profound ways we can be of service if we're truly giving, if we're truly in that heart process, that deep, just connecting with the heart of the cosmos thing, and allowing that to speak through us, allowing that to shine through us. That's such a wonderful way to live, and such a wonderful way to work. And I think it ultimately has an impact. It makes a difference in the world. But having a child and reckoning with this moment of what I'm giving up for that, is also getting it just installs a real seriousness about, well, I suppose it just makes it a question of, is it worth it? What's actually worth it? Because it's not that I want to be around Annalise for my own purposes. It's not that I want to be home to see her for my own kind of selfish reasons. It's because I'm of service there, and I'm needed there. I'm providing a service that's actually necessary. She needs a father. So if I'm gonna tell Katie that she needs to spend 2 months being both mama and papa, it better be for something that's worth it. I think Katie would feel the same. And I'm just tracking this, and I'm surprised by how much of an emotional impact it's having on me as I get near the day. Saturday is the day I'm going to drive off. I can hardly believe it. I can hardly believe that that's how, that's happening in 5 days, 4 days. So, as far as creative spirituality goes, and the nature of art as a spiritual practice, it's upping the stakes. It's raising the stakes, and it's raising my own clarity. It's raising my own seriousness. It's really hard to bullshit. It's really hard to take steps that are somehow petty or petulant or not focused, when there's this level of emotional charge around the actual thing, around the actual steps that I'm taking. So I'm deeply grateful for that on one level. already, and I think I will probably gain more gratitude as I step further into this. But I'm also recognizing how important it is that I clock what I'm stepping towards, what I'm temporarily giving up. Just run, really evaluate, discriminate what's really important. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you. I love you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.